Perfect. Hey, welcome to Coffee Connect, everyone. I'm Roddy. I'm the host. We've got a couple new folks with us, so be aware, new folks, right? At some point, I will give you the microphone so you can introduce yourselves, let us know who you are, what you do, and hopefully how we can help you. That's the important piece of it. If you enjoy the conversation from today and you want to be added to the email list, I would ask you to email me at ccinfo@addictedtoconnecting.com. And I'm happy to add you to the invite list. You can always go back and check out past episodes of Coffee Connect at our website at www.addictedtoconnecting.com, where you can get to the YouTube channel. Last week we kicked off really this next month of technology, adaptation, future skills, and how humans can interact with all the crazy stuff that's coming out, right? And this week we're going to kind of continue to discuss that. Brandy's coming on to kind of give us this recruiter talent acquisition perspective of the ATS system, which I know many of us have had frustrations with over the years, right? Hopefully you'll get some tools today as to how you can help navigate those things. But also, I think the biggest thing, because the article is going to come out tomorrow at some point, summarizing the lessons, but I want to make this article special. I want to make this article really a call to employers, right? To say there are things you need to do differently as well, because you're probably missing out on valuable talent, guys. And so I want you to keep that in mind for the conversations today. As we go through this, are there any announcements or celebrations or ask at this point? Going once, going twice?
I got
Okay,
one real quick.
Ronnie, I got
Go
one.
for it, Paul. I got you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry that I missed quite a few weeks, but my wife and I just had a baby in June, so this is the first one back, first full week back working past paternity leave. So good to be back. Nice to see everybody.
Did you bring the donuts for everybody?
No.
Awesome. Congratulations. Pam, did you have something?
I did. I have successfully landed.
Yeah.
Quality Craft Products. I am in process of their onboarding in this extensive process, so I may be attending the next couple of weeks, but I have landed.
Yeah, the
It is
eagle has
amazing.
landed.
That is correct.
It's crazy because then you can celebrate people landing, but then it's like, well, then they're not probably going to be here anymore. Wait a minute.
That's good news. It gives
So-
the others hope. I will
Yeah.
toss down in the chat the upcoming career fairs that I know about.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. Yesterday, Clint sent me some information. I'll put this in the chat too, so you guys have it, especially for folks that are here in Cincinnati. Hold on, I got to get the chat up. My goodness. Confluence 2026 is a SCORE program that takes place. So it's a live program. It's on a Wednesday. I know that. I think it's next. It might be next Wednesday, and it goes from goes to like 2:30 in the afternoon. But crazy is the topic that they're talking about this week, or this month, or this year, I should say. I'm sorry, is human interaction and AI, right? Oh wow, look what we're into, right? So they're going to have some folks there as guest speakers, right? It'll probably be a great event. It does cost money. I'll share with that. But it's not next Wednesday. It's beyond that, because August 15th is like the early bird special. So it might not be until like September or something like that. That's why why I wanted to announce it, because if you're up in Cleveland and it interests you, you have some time to actually arrange that schedule, right? So you can get down here and attend Confluence 2026. So that's in the chat. Any other announcements? All right, let's keep moving here. Am I sharing the right screen? Somebody give me a thumbs up. So
Yes.
thank you very much, Jeff. Yep. So technology adaptation. This is really our second week, right? Cracking the ATS code. I think this is a job seekers and employer alike collaboration today. We got introduced not too long ago, actually, and we had some coffee. We met. I really enjoyed, I think, what she's learning from this entire process as well, because she's also in job search mode, but she's also seen the other side of it too, guys. And so, without any further ado, give it up for Brandy Gibson.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brandy Gibson, as Ronnie just said. First of all, I want to apologize if I move my screen a lot. I was just at a Women's Connect hour, so I'm doing this in my car. I don't have a holder, so if it's shaking or anything like that, it's because I'm literally holding my phone as I'm talking. But a brief synopsis of who I am. I have been in job search since January. Prior to that, I was a talent acquisition manager at St. Elizabeth's Physicians. I had actually built our ATS system from the ground up. So I have a lot of experience when it comes to ATSs and what you may experience as a candidate, but also what the recruiter is experiencing on the other side. So I wanted to spend some time today to discuss what that is like for both us as job seekers and also what it's like from the employer standpoint. So as Rodney and I had talked about this, I did create a PowerPoint presentation, but we have some breakout sessions where we have a couple questions that we want to present to the team and kind of talk through what it's like for you, what it's like for the employer, and then come back together. And I want to give you a few pointers of what to do when it comes to your ATS. All right, if you'll click to the next screen. And Rodney's going to do a great job of managing everything since I am on my phone. I really do appreciate that, Rodney. So first of all, a lot of people, when they hear ATS, they don't actually know what an ATS is. But they're like, okay, there's an acronym here. Sure. I understand what the acronym is. Okay. But I actually wanted to explain what an actual ATS is. It's it is an applicant tracking system. And this is actually utilized for all sorts of businesses. Smaller businesses may not actually use an applicant tracking system. They may just want to receive the resumes, review them, and then move forward with candidates. But medium to large organizations are using ATS systems to help manage their recruiting process. They're using this to get applications in. They're utilizing the system to move candidates forward to the hiring manager. Instead of passing resumes back and forth through email where it can get lost, using an applicant tracking system is definitely used to help ease the process of recruiting. So when you are applying to these roles, what they're doing is they're capturing your information and utilizing it on the back end to send messages back and forth to each other. They're using it to keep track of how many applications are within a job requisition. They're also able to go back in and find candidates at a later date. So if you applied to a role, but you may match better to another role, that recruiter can actually go and find you in their system and reach out to you. So what this is utilized for is ease of service on the employer side. As an applicant, it can be very complicated. The system may not work properly for you. And it all depends on how the organization has built their ATS system, on whether it's candidate friendly or not. A lot of times they forget the candidate side of it, the actual application side of it, and they focus on the internal business side of it. And what is the ease for the hiring manager and the hiring team's utilization for it? So at the bottom here, I actually put in a couple of different ATS systems that you may have come across when you're applying, or if you're a company, a small business that may be looking at ATS systems, you have quite a few different varieties that you can choose from. This is just a handful of them, but you may have seen ADP, iCIMS, Paychecks, Oracle, Workday, there's Kronos, and I can go on and on and on. So when you're applying to jobs, you may actually see one of those systems. They usually have it at the bottom of the application, or you may even find it in the cursor up in the address bar. All right, Rodney. So I think this is our first breakout session, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, it's not. I was mistaken. I apologize. See, this is what happens. All right. So our current process for us as job seekers is to go and find the job. You may be looking at different job boards. You may be going directly to the company's website. You submit your application, and then you're waiting forever to receive feedback or actually receive a immediate rejection. So it can go either way. And what I wanted to talk about is how does that process actually look and work for us? So one of the things that you may find is if you're getting information from like Indeed and LinkedIn, sometimes you will actually find fake job applications out there. So it's kind of a buyer beware. Some companies are duplicating companies' job descriptions and then posting it. What they're doing with your information, I'm not aware what they're doing. But when I worked at St. Elizabeth, there was a company in Cincinnati that was hiring for home health workers, and they were actually using our company logo and our company name to try to attract people to their organization. And then when you go on the actual company website, it was a completely different company name. Their logo was different. They weren't even called St. Elizabeth. So I wanted to say buyer beware with some of that stuff because it does happen. And there is another one that I've seen very frequently where First Financial actually has a talent acquisition manager role posted, but there is another company that is like a home health company as well that's showing it as their job, and it's not their job. So when it comes to submitting your resume, you have places like Indeed and LinkedIn that have easy, quick apply. A lot of people are doing that. I would suggest that you don't do that. That's a part of another slide here in a little bit. And then when you're submitting your application, if you're going directly to the career website, a lot of people are having issues with it parsing their resume. And then they're just not filling out their application into complete completion. So with that being said, it is harder for the recruiter to actually see your actual application. They're only getting bits and pieces of what you're actually applying for. And then they're moving you forward through the process pretty quickly because now you've applied to something. Your resume is not actually attached to it. Your application is not fully completed, and you may not even know that's even happened. So that's where the long waits can happen, where you never hear back from the company, but they may have already quietly rejected you. So today I'm going to actually show you how to go back in to look to see where you might be in their process without having to reach out to them directly. All right. Is this now? Okay, there it is. There's our breakout. So what we're going to talk about during our breakout session is where does the hiring process feel like it's broken down and why? What part of the ATS or hiring workflow feels the least human to you? And if you can name one root cause behind the frustration, what would it be?
Before we go to break, I think I saw Pam had her hand up.
Okay, sorry, I can't see it, so I appreciate
No,
that, Jim.
and I'm sure you can't. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
Thanks, Brandy. One thing I wanted to add, I found this current position on LinkedIn. It's such a small manufacturing company. They used Indeed to through the whole process. But the way I confirmed that it was a real position, I went to the company website and I did a little research on the company. Once I found out the size, that's how I found out it was a legit position.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'm going to get to that here in a little bit, but that is a very, very great point, Pam. And that is absolutely true. The best thing to do is actually research the company before applying on LinkedIn or Indeed. All right.
All right, guys, I've got the breakout room set for 12 minutes. Feel free to screenshot this if you need to before we go out. If you are not familiar with those in your room, all right, introduce yourselves, do a quick round robin, and then get on with the talks about what we're trying to fix here.
We're back.
All yours, Brandy.
All right. Does anybody, before we move on, have any quick what's broken and what do you think could be done differently that you guys want to share with the group?
I mean everything, but no,
Down boy.
no, I'm joking. The one thing that I was just saying in our group is you know, well, first of all, I was talking. Do you know who Matt Marvin is, Brandy?
I do know
Mhm.
who Matt Marvin is.
Mhm.
He was telling me, one of the ways to navigate the ATS system is you find those keywords, obviously make sure they apply to you, um, and you put those just as bullet points, one or two or three word bullet points at the beginning of your resume. Well, it's kind of frustrating to me because, well, I see both sides of the coin. Okay, I understand you're getting hundreds of resumes and it's a tool to screen things out, but I also feel like, if you don't have these keywords, and you might be missing out on good candidates.
Hmm.
But yeah, so you're just kind of playing a game.
Yeah, and I think it depends because I'm going to actually touch base on that here in a little bit. I think it depends on the company that you're applying for, though, because not all companies rely on the keywords, and I think you
Okay.
just need to know who the company is that you're applying to. Um, and that could be a challenge. But the thing is that you're it, Natalie Rupert, who ran NKYAG, used to say,
Mhm.
"What you do in your job search will reflect what you do in your career or in your job." So you have to be able to do a lot of research. You have to be willing to put in that effort to learn whether it's a
Mhm.
medium, large, or small organization. But I'm going to address that here shortly. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, to piggyback a little bit off of Brian and Brandy, kind of a piece of what I think you might be trying to say is Dr. Nina Talley, who teaches the ATS class at Kenton County.
Mhm.
She says the job description is king.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's like whatever you do, as much as reasonably possible, where you're not lying, try to match the job description.
Yep.
If it
Yep.
says we're looking for a director of finance, don't say that you were a finance director. It does
Yep.
make a difference in how um, the the ATS will score you.
Yep.
And if
Which
they say quickly, say say quickly rather than rapidly. It's just try to match the job description as much as reasonably possible.
Mhm.
And
You don't
that's
want to
that's
lie.
kind of that's kind of the problem. Unless you know this, which I know about JobScan and use JobScan
Mhm.
from NKYAG and the Job Search Focus Group, but okay, most people out there looking for jobs probably are not coming to these groups. So
Mm-mm.
So
what
then you're one
chance?
up on them.
Well, I get that, but what chance do they have?
Unfortunately, you're right. They don't have opportunities to do all of this. So for me, and the reason when I spoke to Ronnie about having this conversation is I'm trying to spread as much information as I possibly can
Mhm.
around to help people so you can start getting more interviews and getting your application out there a little bit more, which is the very next thing I wanted to talk about. If Ronnie, you want to put that up on the screen, is
I will. Yeah, I want to add real quick. So, I mean, we're primarily focused here on ATS, but I want you to know, like, there, even within the entrepreneurs that are in the group right now, right? Many of us have probably come across some kind of database system or some kind of technology that was introduced to us or our company or our processes right over the years that we were just like, oh, this is good, but there's so many shiny buttons and I don't know what they all do and how to like how to use them to be as productive as possible. I know, Tim and I'll speak for Tim and I, right? I mean, we've come through this with our CRM, like over the years, it continues to develop, and it does so much more today than what it used to. But at some point, Brian, we all have to understand that it's our responsibility, right, to reach out to someone or reach out to some resource to be able to learn how to navigate these things, right?
Yeah.
And so we can have empathy for those that choose not to, right, and just choose to do it the hard way. But uh, We can only
Oh,
control what we can control. Pam, did you
my
have
point
something else?
is
Go
oh, I'm
ahead, Brian.
sorry. My point is there are just so many people out there who just don't know.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then they feel like they're going in that black hole.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So let's just go ahead. I'll put my comment down in the chat. Let's let Brandy continue.
Thanks, Pam. Okay, so what I was going to actually say to go along with what Brian was saying is how you apply actually really does matter, because at the end of the day, how your application gets to the recruiters will be how you're seen to the recruiters. Um, a lot of times, the recruiting teams are very, very small. So larger corporations like P&G, their recruiting team actually may be global. So I recently interviewed with a company that the recruiter was sending me messages at 10 p.m. because they were not local to the United States. So you may run into some of that where the recruiting team isn't even localized to the area that you're trying to apply to. So you may have disconnect with what the hiring manager is looking for and what the recruiters are sending to the hiring manager. So things that I personally do that I always suggest to everybody that I talk to is apply directly to the company's career site. And the reason why I say that is, one, you can actually create what's called a candidate home, or some of them may call it something slightly different. But you can create this home page where anytime they in the future that they have another role that's open, it's easy for you to just click and finish out the application. Always upload your resume it's as frequently as possible in like a Word document. It just makes it so much easier when it gets onto the applicant tracking system. I would also say a PDF is fine, but what happens is your resume may come across like a Google Doc may come across and it gets distorted for the recruiters. And then they have a hard time actually reading the layout. Your resume in hand actually may be an amazing document, but when it gets uploaded on that ATS system, it can be completely distorted. So an example of that is I'm currently interviewing for a position at the Christ Hospital System. And my resume in hand looks amazing. It's the way I formatted it makes it easy. When they all pulled it out, when I went in for my face-to-face interview, it did not look like the same document that I had on my person. It got completely distorted. So even if you have a really nice resume, keep that in mind that the system, when it gets uploaded, may distort it a little bit. And it's just how the system looks at every different document that's being processed, that it may like offset your resume, so it may not come across like what the original version looks like. But I do know that Word doc usually tries to stay as close to formatted as possible. The bullet points might be off a little, or not centered very well, but the recruiters know that's not, that they'll still send it off. But like a Google Doc may actually come across as gibberish. So if possible, try to use a Word document. Does somebody have a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've also noticed that even a Word document can get distorted. If
Yes.
you have different formatting and you save things multiple times, it can like you copy something and then save it, it can change the format.
Yes.
Or one of the things that I learned is you don't want to use those like resume templates, because what'll happen is it'll try to format it a specific way, and you will be fighting that every time you're trying to write
Yes.
the resume.
And that's true. And then what will happen is when you upload it to the ATS system, it may come across as boxes and question marks. So then you can't even see what it is from the recruiter. So they may actually just reject you because they can't even see what your work experience is. And then, of course, and Brian, excellent point, which is keep your resume format simple and try to make sure it's easy for it to be uploaded into the system. And then the other thing I want to say is, and we had talked about this in my breakout session, is how annoying it is that even though the system offers you to parse your resume, it doesn't. We have to copy and paste everything for your own benefit because you do not know how your resume is coming across on the other end. Always parse your own resume into their system. So if your resume comes up and they can't see it, they can still see your application. So I know it's can be cumbersome and can be very annoying, but for your own benefit, I would always do that. And then things that I would not do is use the easy apply and quick apply that are in LinkedIn and Indeed. Pam mentioned this earlier because smaller companies may specifically use Indeed, but your medium to large companies, when they will hardly ever use the easy apply or quick apply. First of all, the cost for that is astronomical. So a lot of companies will not actually use that button. So when you're doing that, your resume is going into a black hole that the employer has a hard time going and finding it in Indeed and LinkedIn. That's where I would redirect you to always go directly to the company's website and apply directly. Because then you do know at that point they actually have your application. The other thing is if you do not answer your background check questions, which is a requirement for all companies except for maybe small, like 0 to 50 associates. But if you're not answering the questions about, are you legally allowed to work in the United States? Do you have a criminal history record? Chances are you didn't actually apply to that job. So now you are really in a black hole. Where did your application go? I would stay away from like JPEG and PNG because the images don't always translate into the ATS systems appropriately. And always make sure you're actually uploading your resume. The amount of times that we received documents, we had monster truck tickets that came across. We had decision-making processes for child support. We had Social Security stuff uploaded, and you're like, luckily we kept it under wraps. We didn't show anybody, but that happens all the time. You accidentally click the wrong document and upload it. Heck, I've even done that because before I submit my application, I'll go back in and I'll click to make sure I uploaded the right resume. And if I didn't, I still have the opportunity to do so. And then don't overcomplicate your resume with the graphics templates and anything like that because that can cause issues. The other thing, yeah.
Add one thing to
Sure.
what you were saying about the LinkedIn and Indeed.
Yeah.
Something that people don't realize when they use those quick apply features. When I was doing the recruiting for a small business and we use those, something that Indeed does is it will actually inject its own information into the resume copy that you receive. So we had one candidate who used the quick apply on Indeed.
Okay.
And she had something like 300 different skills that she had put in her profile on Indeed. It ended up printing her resume, which was one page, and then printing 9 more pages because the company owner liked everything on paper instead of on the computer. So I printed it out, and it printed 9 pages, every skill one line at a time.
Yep, that's happened too. Mm-hmm. You're
It,
absolutely right.
It's something that it does not tell you, it does not show you, it doesn't, you have no way of knowing as a candidate that the very system you're using to apply is changing your resume that the company is receiving on their side, and you have no control over that.
Nope. Especially if you utilize Indeed to create your resume. It gets very distorted. That is a great point, Chris. All right, some quick common myths that I wanted to explain. The ATS system automatically rejects your applications. That is a very uncommon misconception. Especially for small and medium-sized organizations, there's a recruiter on the other side doing that. They are sifting through all of those resumes. They don't have an automatic rejection. Most applications are still reviewed by a recruiter or a hiring manager. They may be scanning for very specific things. So when a recruiter is looking at your resume, they're looking to see, do you have the direct experience and do you have the education? Those are very quick things to look at on a resume, and then they'll filter through your actual whole resume. So when they say that your resume gets about 30 seconds of a quick view, that is true. especially if you're in a very high paced environment. They're looking for very quick things to look at. And then the other thing is no one's actually looking at your application. Again, unless you're with a very, very large organization that may organize all the resumes in a certain way where they'll say, okay, yours rates higher. All applications are looked at. I mean, it's almost impossible to look through like hundreds of them on a daily basis, but a lot of recruiters are doing that. The company doesn't care about the candidate. Everybody here could probably attest to the fact that I never heard from a company. They didn't give my stuff back. The problem is that a lot of times the teams only have 4 or 5 recruiters for thousands of openings, and they can't personalize it for everybody, and that's the hard part of being in transition, or even if you're just looking for a new opportunity. The recruiters themselves are trying their hardest to get through all of these, and it does feel that way. But I can tell you from the recruiter perspective that they really do try to care about every candidate. They just don't have the capacity to do so. The ATS system ranks you against other candidates. Unless you're a very large organization, the cost for that rating system is astronomical. So we were looking at it when I was at St. Elizabeth, and they wanted $150,000 a year for that program. A lot of times it is a human being looking at them. And then the other thing I want to talk about was they may quietly reject you because they have so many other candidates to get through and they're not ready for you to receive the notification yet. So that does happen. And then if you ever received a rejection in the middle of the night or on the weekend, that's actually set up by the company, because like my staff that I had was, as soon as you were applying, they were trying to get through your resume. And if you didn't fit, they didn't want to like send you the rejection like 15 minutes after you applied. So it would come at 1 a.m. or it'd come over the weekend because they were looking at it on Friday. So companies can set up the timing of when they send out their rejection emails. So if you are getting it at 1 a.m., chances are that's what's happened. I also wanted to show you really quickly, this is some of the jobs that I've recently applied to, and I wanted to show you what some of these might look like. So I have an example of Workday, Oracle, and Kronos here. And up in the subject, or not the subject bar, but the address bar, a lot of times you can see what they use. So it'll say like Workday or My Workday. Kronos is now Ultra Pro. So if you see like or if you see something like that, that means that it's a Kronos. And then Oracle's, you can't see it in this screenshot, but it actually shows you in the address bar that it's Oracle. So each one of these applications are going to be slightly different. But as you can see, all of these here, I can go into my candidate profile and I can see where I'm at in the process. So you can go in. So Roddy's going to do a actual show and tell for us. So this is Prismium. They actually use Workday. You can create a candidate home when you apply. Once you apply, you can actually go in and see where you're, if you've been rejected or if you're still in active status. I did this one in particular because you can actually see where it says feedback was provided. Each one of those may look different because that's set up specifically by the company, but it'll say closed. It may say another candidate chosen. So if you haven't received feedback from a company and say it's been like a month and a half, you can actually go into your candidate profile and see if they've like quietly rejected you. And what I mean by quietly is that they rejected you, but they never sent an email. And you can go right in there to actually see your stuff. And then you can also see what application that you sent, what information was in there. Did you send the right information? And if not, then you know for next time that you can correct it. So does anybody have any questions about that? I know we're like starting to go a little bit faster only because we're getting ready to hit time. But does anybody have any questions?
Real quick, Brandy.
Sure.
Afterwards, would you be willing to put your PowerPoint in the chat?
I don't mind.
Okay.
And then
I can share it.
And then I don't mind getting, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or anything, we can always set up some time as well. Right after this call, I'm going to a luncheon, so I won't have time right after this call, but
No, that's fine.
I don't mind connecting. All right. So for breakout number 2, what could employers do differently to make their hiring process clearer, fairer, or more human? What tools, habits, or strategies could help job seekers navigate ATS systems with more confidence? Where could technology actually help instead of hinder, and what would it look like? And if you could redesign one part of the hiring process, what change would you make? And especially if you're a small business on here, what would you like to do if you were hiring somebody?
Yeah, and Brandy, just due to time, instead of going to breakouts, I think we can just stay here in the main room and talk about these things. Is that
Sure.
okay?
That works for me.
So, what's going through your head on how we can make this process better, or how employers could possibly do things to make them different? Brian, go ahead.
For one, if there's a way, and I don't even know, but if there was a way that, like, okay, let's say all your information didn't get through the ATS or whatever, if there was a way that they could send an automated message, or just so you know that, hey,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that hey, this
Your application was a
resume's not any
train
good.
wreck. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, so communication process being that, and we're going to capture these ideas because everything's being recorded right now, obviously, and transcripts are going to put that out. And that's part of this, guys. When we write the article and the article goes out, we're hoping that employers will see it too and go, wait a minute, there's some good ideas here. And there's a lot of folks that were in job transition that came up with these ideas.
Yeah.
What'd you have, Brandy? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the one that I would like is the parsing to be better, because I think that does take a lot of time in the application process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Chris?
I mean, Brandy just pointed that out. Exactly what I was going to bring up. We all know how do you game the system is really what we're being taught. It's not how do you make your resume better. It's how do you game the system to get your resume through this automated process that doesn't understand what it's actually doing. And I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to be very harsh. I'm probably going to offend somebody who works at Workday, but these software developers that are developing these ATS systems are completely incompetent, and they are trash developers. I'm developing several projects simultaneously right now, and some of them involve parsing data. And I can tell you how easy it is to put a very simple fuzzy matcher or a very simple parsing system that works regardless of what the content of the file is. Now, granted, it still needs to be a Word document or a PDF. It has to be text. It can't be an image. But the idea that these systems, out of the decades that these systems have been under development, and even now with them bringing AI in and the power that it has, and they still can't understand how a bulleted line is part of a job description instead of putting a brand new job for every single bullet is absurd. The data parsing and the data processing that goes on in these systems is where I mentioned in our breakout group that there's an information disconnect, and that's where it sits right there. The recruiters are not doing anything wrong, and the job applicants are doing anything wrong. But we're being taught that we have to do exactly word for word to match the job description so that this system can understand what our actual experience is to get through the automated system to get to a recruiter. Because I understand Brandy is saying that, no, these systems don't automatically reject, but it's impossible for that to be true when a rejection email gets sent to an applicant within seconds of their application actually being submitted. And I know not every company does this, but there are companies that do have automatic rejection set up. And in fact, the company that I was working for, that I worked as a recruiter, not as a recruiter, but I recruited for, we did have something like that set up on Indeed. That was a very simple rule. If you didn't have a resume, you'd get rejected outright. But, and this is the funny part, we had it set up to send the email 2 or 3 days later, not within seconds.
Wrap it up in a couple seconds here, Chris. So we can get somebody else.
the bulk of it.
April, did you have something to add?
No, I'm just listening. Good
Okay.
information.
So I'm going to add something. Some of the employers need to check their job descriptions before they post it,
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
because I'm finding out they may, excuse my language, a long list of laundry in the job description that may not exactly deal with your exact position. It's just generalization. So I think they need to review the job description before they post it.
I agree, Pam. I've seen where they've had the summary might be correct, but all the detail in the job description matches nothing in their summary. Like it doesn't tie.
It's a wish
Mhm.
list on their
What they
end.
call it's what they call a feature puke.
It's a what?
Like, it's a feature puke. It's
Well-
like they just basically throw everything out there that, in the kitchen sink.
Well, I think sometimes they copy and reuse job descriptions and just
Yeah,
change the summary is what I think
when you
happens.
see 37 bullet points, in a job description, it's just too much.
Well, I've heard a lot of that is okay. Yeah, they're looking for these 10 things, but these other
Or
20 things are their wish list.
Yep.
so for sure, clear communication is big,
Mhm.
right? But
And while we're on that, please.
what's the
put
plan B?
pay range in the job description.
Yes. Well, and I'm glad that you said that because Chris, you'll know this. It's um, illegal in many states not to post the job description, but in Kentucky, in Ohio, and Indiana, they don't have to. They're not required to.
Wow.
But New York, California, like some of those major ones, Illinois, you're required to put it on there. A lot of times, and I did see this. Why do they ask for your pay? And it's because they want to know whether or not you're even going to fit in their range. Because if you are applying to an entry level role and you're asking for 50,000 and the top that they can pay is 35,000, and that's what they're asking for. So I personally put either like a 1, a 0, or negotiable on mine. I want them to tell me what the pay range is. I get that you may only be able to pay 35,000 and I'm asking for 50, but that is my decision as a person to say whether or not I right now I can accept that 35. So
Mhm.
that's my get around for it. But you're right, Chris. Like, please post it.
Well,
So
on the other side of the coin, then they should post their salary requirements.
So the other side of this, like if we're not getting through the system, is what's the company's plan B? Like, because I'm sure as an executive, somebody's sitting back going, what are we doing to make sure that we don't miss the Martins and we don't miss the Michael Wilhides and we don't miss those great candidates that are out there, but for some reason this system has created this roadblock, right? I think that's a question we all need to be answering. Like, what's the plan B? What's the backup here? Because there's got to be something, right? Nobody sends the space shuttle into orbit. Well, we don't send the space shuttle into orbit anymore at all. But we don't send a rocket into orbit, right? Especially when it has people on board it, unless there's multiple plans in it enabling them to get back home safely, right? This is the same way. And I know we're not talking about sending into orbit, right? But we're relying on this. It seems like a singular stop system that could be limited on both ends, right?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Those systems, are they going through HR? Because plan B is don't go through HR if you can help it.
A lot of them are
Yeah.
because they
Their
have
job
a
is to
recruiting
delete.
team.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
job is to delete, get rid of people.
Yeah, and a lot of it is because hiring managers don't have the capacity. That I'm glad that you just said that, because I was telling Rodney this example the other day. I was talking to this gentleman who works at Amazon, and he's got 4 requisitions, and for each one of them he has over 90 applicants
Yep.
per requisition, and he actually has a team that's helping him put interviews on his calendar, but they're out of Bangladesh and they keep double and triple booking him. And so he's still having to do his job. He's still having to do all the recruiting, and it's almost impossible. So that's why they have another team that's trying to support that, because it is a lot for one manager to have over 100 applications. They have to have a process. All right. So for us to wrap up, I just kind of wanted to throw out some numbers of how this has been working for me. And then it looks like we're about at time. But for me, I have personally applied to over 74 companies, and my average target for getting an interview is about 16%. Currently, I still have about 28 active applications, and I have been rejected 46 times. So overall, it's not an exact science, but when when Rodney and I were speaking the other day, he made a great point. Like, if you are in sales, you're not going to hit 100% all the time, but if you can hit 10% out of that 100%, you have movement, you have traction. So I just wanted to show and share that, even I'm not perfect 100% of the time, but I'm still getting a high number of actual interviews. And it's translating over, and people are asking me, how am I getting so many interviews? And it's because I'm applying directly to the company. I'm keeping my resume simple.
Yeah.
Brandy, are you net? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. The other analogy I wanted to kind of share, right? I said, if you're going through, after our discussion and everything, if you're going through Indeed and LinkedIn, it's literally like you're standing at the batting cage, just swinging at balls coming at you, but you're not really playing in the game.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not going straight to the company and putting your resume and putting the application in through that direction, right? You're probably just sitting at the batting cage and getting frustrated why you're not getting a home run sometimes. Right.
Since we're running out of time, for those people with their hands up, can you toss your comments in the chat so we can save the chat?
Thanks, Rod.
And so, guys, it is frustrating, right? When you got new systems and new technology that maybe you feel like it's not doing what you needed to do from a customer standpoint, while somebody on the other end is probably just as frustrated because they know, I guarantee you, they know, someone on the other end knows that they're missing out on people, right? They're missing out on great talent. And so it goes back to something that we've always preached, right? The best method for you to move forward in that job search process, right, is for someone to introduce you to somebody that's in that whole market, that's in that job, that's in that company, that's already got their foot in the door, or at least knows somebody that has their foot in the door in that company, right? And the relationships we build, right, is the plan B that we need to create. If the companies aren't going to create it, we need to create it for ourselves. Okay. Next week, guys, Ray.
Hey,
You want to share with us a little bit about next week? It is next week, right?
We didn't. I wasn't sure if it was next week or the week after, but it could be next week.
Thought I emailed you the 4th, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, you have 2 dates on there. I wasn't sure, but anyway, next week it is learning how to work with AI, because if you're not working with AI, then you'll probably be replaced by someone who does. So.
So here's 2 things, right, that I know Ray has been great about, man. And one of the things he threw at me was master prompting, and I think that's a great value to us, but also the productivity side. And so if there's some way to combine those 2, right, and just say, hey, how do we learn how to better master prompt so that we can be more productive in our lives, right? Especially whether it's in your businesses or your job search, it's all related. Learning how to communicate better with AI can only allow you to be more productive using the tools that are given to us. And so that's what we got next week. What do we have after that? Future of work is a team sport. That is all about the adaptation as well. And then the last week, guys, I've got a great workshop planned, the digital escape room, using some of the skills.
Please share your screen.
No, I don't want to. using some of the skills and talents that we are learning over these couple weeks, right? We're gonna do a digital escape room. It's not going to be what you think it is, but it'll be fun. It's going to allow you to use some of the skills, right, and talents that we're talking about here, and hopefully learn a little bit about yourself. So that's the upcoming, and then we move into the networking relationships, and Jeff Huxter will talk. Hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to Dave Skoglund at some point too, and get him involved with that 4 or 5 week message that we'll send out. And so it is 11:06. I apologize, guys. These last couple weeks that we've been getting out late. Go out there, have a great week, and remember, I love you guys. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a great
you,
week,
Brandy.
everybody.
Thanks, Brandy.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Thanks.